Welcome back, gamers, to Top 10 Gaming. I'm your host, Johnny Rogers, and if you happen to be new here, we put out daily content on all things gaming, so if you're down with that, then tap subscribe to see more. Also, make sure you stay all the way until the end because we're going to have some sweet bloopers. Plus, leave us a comment down below with who your favorite Bendy and the Ink Machine character is, and while you ponder that, let's jump into today's video of the scariest Bendy and the Ink Machine creepypastas titled The Ink is Alive. Bendy and the Ink Machine, often referred to as just Bendy, is an episodic first-person puzzle-action survival video game. The game follows Henry Stein, a retired animator who comes back to his studio called Joey Drew Studios after receiving an invite from an old friend. This is where he stumbles upon the nightmare of a cartoon character brought to life by the Ink Machine. The following creepypasta involves a similar experience and was written by a YouTuber called The Dark Reindeer. The story begins with a protagonist by the name of Noah, and several years ago he found a job at a daily newspaper for an old shut-down workshop that needed a new cleaner. The company that he had applied for had recently found this abandoned workshop previously owned by Disney that they now took over when they purchased the land. It was an artist's workshop where beloved characters like Mickey Mouse were created. The artists worked there for years trying to come up with the next lovable cartoon character for the masses, but suddenly they just shut down. Some believed it was due to financial issues, but all of the newspapers at the time said that the shutdown was due to some mass ink leak that took place inside. The previous owner had purchased this large ink machine that was found in the center of the workshop. Many of the artists interviewed by the paper said they had no idea why he purchased it, but regardless, this machine is most likely what led to the place closing down. The ink leak had caused so much damage that it was believed to be beyond repair. The new owners, though, hired Noah as a cleaner for this newly discovered workshop with the hopes of at least turning it into an attraction for Disney fans. Noah would get the job, and the following day would start the enormous task of tidying up the abandoned workshop. When he walked through the back entrance, he was delighted to see photos hanging on the wall of classic Disney characters, along with pictures of the staff smiling next to cardboard cutouts of their creations. However, this feeling of joy only lasted for a moment. Once he began to see the task at hand, he was not just discouraged, but a bit creeped out. There was ink leaking out of pipes and abandoned artist supplies scattered all over the floor. Another strange thing was that some of the posters had black smudges on them that appeared to be ink. He ventured further into the workshop to determine where exactly the ink could be coming from. Noah then stumbled upon a projector that was actually still in operation, but what was next to it really started to freak him out. There was this cardboard cutout that looked very similar to Mickey Mouse, but had weird cat ears which kind of looked like devil ears as well. On the table were some leftover tapes, and after watching one of them, he discovered that the character's name was Bendy. He was amazed that he had never heard of this character before, and now curious with what else he would discover here, he ventured into the next room. As he walked through the hallways, traces of that black gunk were still showing up on the walls and on the floors. When Noah walked into the next room, he was greeted by the large ink machine he had heard so much about and the reason why this place was shut down. The machine looked as though it wasn't even finished. There were huge puddles of ink still surrounding it. It almost appeared as if it was flooding the room. Noah continued his investigation though. He found work desks with unfinished drawings, more pipes leaking ink, and some type of goofy looking wolf character that he would later discover was called Boris. He continued on searching the rest of the building and didn't really see anything too creepy or shocking. That is, until he reached this room beside the ink machine room. He noticed that there was something strapped to a table, and as he got closer he nearly threw up at the sight. There was some type of creature strapped to the table that looked just like the Boris character. His chest was wide open and what looked like clay organs were resting inside. The blood inside the body looked like ink, and he watched in horror as it poured out of the sides of the character and onto the floor. To make things even freakier, the Boris's character's tongue and eyes were missing. What perhaps shocked him even more though than that was that behind the table was an ink splatter on the wall that looked like a blood stain from a shot to the head. Before he had a chance to further investigate though, the pipes in the room suddenly began to violently rattle and shake, almost as if someone had turned them on in some way. Then the sounds of gears twisting and turning echoed down the hallways from a nearby room. A chill ran down his spine as the sounds of the gears got louder and louder. It finally hit him. It was coming from the ink machine room. Someone or something had turned it on. He ran to where the ink machine was in a panic that some intruders had followed him in and had now set off the machine. No one never made it to the ink machine room though. As he was running down the corridor, he suddenly froze halfway there. Something was crawling out of the room. Ink trailed behind it as the monster began to slowly form limbs. First a head popped up, then an arm to pull it closer to Noah, then another arm. then its body, and finally its legs. The ink was alive and slowly but surely transforming into a monster. The monster stood straight up, and as it was face to face with Noah, the ink started to drip away from its face. It was Bendy. The ears of the devil poked through its ink-covered head, and its eyes looked more sinister than anything he had ever seen before. Bendy started twitching and shaking as it moved slowly out of the ink and down in the hallway. He screamed in terror as the Bendy monster cracked a smirk that he would never forget. Noah made it out of the building safely and ran to the company's office to tell them what he had just witnessed. The company sent 2 other workers to investigate, but Bendy was nowhere to be seen. Even when they entered the ink machine room, they said that the place was spotless. Nothing he had reported in his statement was confirmed by others. But it's safe to say Noah will never forget the day that the ink came alive. And that has been the Scariest Bendy and the Ink Machine Creepypastas titled The Ink is Alive. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then show us some love here by tapping that like and subscribe button. Plus, leave us a comment down below with your thoughts on this story. And for more videos like this one, all you gotta do is click that playlist on the screen. From Top 10 Gaming, I'm Johnny Rogers. Until next time, take care. We're going to have some sweet bloopers. Plus, leave us a comment down below with who your... I copied the wrong thing. Who your favorite Pokemon trainer is. Unrelated. Let's get it, gamers. Scrolling. That's a long sentence. It's so long.